All right, here we are back on the desk here for LJL Match Day number 13. Our first game was more of what we expected, despite any hopes otherwise, but game two does prove to be a lot more consequential in the standings and much more of an even matchup. It's going to be Rascal Jester and Burning Core here, gentlemen. And just right off the bat, any big feelings one way or the other because these teams are tied up in that fourth place position right now. I believe yes, they're both 5 and 7. So, is there anything starting with you, Kashka, that makes you lean one way or the other on this one?
Honestly, I'm kind of in the middle. Something in my heart is telling me Rascal Jester. Maybe it's still the hangover from spring. So I will lean that way. But I will say, in my head, this is on paper a matchup that can really go either way, especially that the first round robin match was won by Burning Core with a very uncharacteristic Rascal Jester.
Recollect any follow up on that? Do you perhaps see the light one way or the other, or is it more no? These teams are both 5 and 7. Toss a coin, just CGA it. Let's see who comes out on top.
I think it's definitely worth saying that this is a bit of a coin flip matchup because I think both these teams have strengths and weaknesses across the board. I'm actually leaning a bit more towards Burning Core. I won't lie. I think that I am more of a Burning Core fan, and that's because of a few factors. The first one is that whilst I think their bot lane is very weak, I think that Rascal Jester's bot lane throughout the majority of the split have underperformed. They had a great performance last time out against CGA, and perhaps this is now the return of Soul and Secret. The question to me is it going to come back fully? I don't know. I'm not fully, in just yet. I'm buying in on the bot side.
That would be a really big boon for RJs. Oh, now you see more of all of our wonderful faces. That was a wonderful snap zoom. Thank you, production, for that. Showing off how sweaty I am on this summer morning. But yeah, it's I'm sweating a little bit for Burning Core. I'm not gonna lie. I think that might be the source of my stress here. Like you say, Soul and Secret, when they're on form, they are absolutely wild. They run things down that bot lane. They were a big win condition for Rascal Jester when they were so successful in spring. So if they are returning to a point where they are one of the premier bot lane duos here in the LJL, I think Burning Core is SOL when it comes to that bot lane matchup. Yuhi, generally one of our weaker players here in the LJL, maybe competing with Dresco at this point for that bottom of the table 80 carry position. They tried role swapping to support. It didn't go so well. So Burning Core feels like a team that are all over the place. One thing they're not awful at is getting leads, right? They can look good in games at time, but Kashka, you were sort of commenting on how they're not always the best at doing things proactively with those leads.
Yeah, I mean, the stat that I kind of do want to just throw out there is I think 55% win rate when ahead, which honestly isn't as much as you would expect. When you're ahead, you should probably, that's at 15, by the way, you should be probably winning 60 to 70% of the time. And looking at Burning Core games, yeah, they kind of have been all over the place. Some of them have gone the distance. I feel like what this tells me is Burning Core, we're not looking at a 50-minute mark for them to win. It's more 20, 25 minutes where you can really judge, are they actually going to get the Nexus?
Yeah, they have the potential to look pretty good at times, do Burning Core, and also at times very in recollect. That's it's sort of like the CGA syndrome for Burning Core, right?
Yeah, sorry, I was just thinking there might be some teams that would be happy with 15% win rate after with it from ahead. But it can be a bit. Sorry.
Oh, leave E3 alone! Haven't they suffered enough at this point?
Haven't I suffered enough? My eyes, man. Don't do this to me. No. Anyway, no. As you're saying, there is a bit of CGA syndrome that goes on in these games, but I think that's true for both these two teams, which is why I think it makes it so hard to call, right? Because I think that across the board, there's been some inconsistency, I think, among pretty much every role. I'd make the argument, in fact, that in this particular game, I think the mid laners are both very stable, is the term I would use. I'd use the fact that they are players that sort of exist in a vacuum. They don't often contribute the most to the team's actual successes in the early to mid game and sort of show up to the team fight. So I wonder how the rest of these roles are going to really sort of round out the actual game, because I feel like watching the two teams play, we're expecting, Rascal Jester, they'll dominate the bottom side. I'm expecting at least the Burning Core will take control of the top side, because in my opinion, Rayfaki probably going to outperform I know a little bit. We will see, obviously, if that comes to fruition. And I
You
wonder
know
if
a
that
little
tale
bit
of
of
two
what?
sides. How to get a
Nobody.
win, unlike V3.
Oh!
Anyway, it's
I thought that was a beautiful pun. That transition was great. Going to
anyway.
outperform, I know a little bit. I thought it was good. Maybe we're sick of the I know puns, but
Oh.
yes, you do know how to grab some wins, unlike V3.
Anyway,
Been
yeah,
rough.
I wonder how this tale of two sides will come into things.
Yeah, and we will see which of these inconsistent teams does wind up being more on point today, because we are ready to go into pick ban for game number 2 here on the day. Gentlemen, I will see you afterwards.
Okay, let's get into the draft for this one. Okay, that looks a bit different. Burning Core will be taking the blue side, Rascal Jester on the red, and we've already gone through all the bans. Pike is the curious one.
Yeah, I guess it's just a loser was, I believe, a Pike main, like a Pike one-trick type situation, so perhaps that's a respect ban, but it does mean that you're leaving up Zeri and Yuumi. So Yuumi just gets first picked. If you take Zeri, it's fine. We have Ezreal as an option. But the Caitlyn first pick, I will be honest with you. I have played a lot of Caitlyn over the last couple of patches. This champion is completely terrible. We've seen it piloted, I think, once here in the LJL, along with the Ziggs, with the idea being it's a perma-shove comp and we can just murder people on repeat under the turret. But it's really not that good. So I'm glad that doesn't get locked in instead. See that Sivir, bit more late game, bit more wave clear, bit more potential damage going through.
Yeah, and I remember Sivir back in the day, season 5, season 6. That used to be, one of the picks that just stole the game for a long time and then hit like a truck in those late game team fights. Now let's see what the Rascal Jester are going to lock in. I'm not going to talk about the however. It's going to be the Nautilus. We've seen that Nautilus against Yuumi last game, and it went pretty well for CGA. And our Burning Core just going to run the Yuumi Zeri bot lane.
I think there's no reason not to. As I say, this matchup is one that I think that pre-6 is very fine for Burning Core. It's also one where this Sivir Nautilus is a little bit dysfunctional in what they want to do. Sivir obviously not insane in those early stages. She's fine, but she's much more about getting a bunch of attack speed and utilizing her W while it's up to get as many ricochets as you can. Because unlike the old Sivir where you were limited to 3, there is no limit now. So the late game team fighting is a lot stronger if people group up properly. But Zeri, a champion who's very free. She's very much plays on her own and plays away from the rest of the team, which makes landing ricochet bounces on her a lot harder than some other AD carries.
That's true, and if Burning Core kind of commit to that style,
Yo!
it's a Kindred!
Let's go!
You finally see it. I mean, last time you cast the Burning Core, they locked it in. Now they're locking in as well. I feel like you just need to be on Burning Core games more.
Yeah, I guess this is just time. Like it's time to play the Kindred, and guess what? We've got ourselves a couple of things banned out. That Poppy is already gone, which means that you can't play the Poppy count, which some people like. I have heard of a few people liking some other matchups into the Kindred as well. The question is, will we see any of those come through? Because with the Gangplank now locked in, you can ban out some of those quote unquote issue champions for this Kindred. And I wonder now what Rascal Jester will end up going towards, because we might see things like the Gragas get taken off the table, which obviously casts people away from the ulti. You have things like Lee Sin, who can duel fairly well early. You can then play for RQ, kick him out of ult, execute that way, and then wartop back in. So there are those sort of champs that people will tend to play into things like the Kindred, maybe. But with those potentially now being taken away, I think it's very hard for Rascal Jester to round out the rest of what they have.
Yeah, they've got Sivir, Gangplank, both hyper-scaling carries here, and well, you're gonna need some bridge to this late game, and we're looking at a mid-jungle right now. So, Burning Core, if you can get rid of, you mentioned the Lee Sin, that might be a good one. They take away the Wukong, which is the staple pick, really, for the entirety of this summer split and hatch matches most played, so that makes sense.
It is a matchup that I think Kindred's okay into as well, but it's fine obviously to take it out, because right now Rascal Jester very reliant on their Nautilus as their primary engager. I actually think that is something Burning Core needs to look at, though, is that they need to pick something that can give Kindred not only the priority, which obviously won't come too amazingly from bot side, but something that can be an engaged threat and be something that can move forwards. Now, if that wasn't the case, I'd say Kayle into GP, it's GP favored early, but Kayle is okay in the matchup, and you could go down this route. But then I think you're segueing too much into the late game, and you sacrifice the early game a bit too much. Instead, I want to see maybe something could be a little bit more active, should we say, in those early stages. And with Skarner being that potential lock-in, it's something that we haven't seen a lot of. Has been a bit of a small pickup. I think it's only come through one other time so far this split. And I would be surprised. I think it was played in a game Hachimetra was playing. I can't remember if they were the one that piloted it or not. But the Xin Zhao comes through instead, something that we've also seen as a potential Kindred counter matchup, and in fact was piloted, I believe, the last time that this Kindred was picked up.
Yeah, I mean, the theory is all there. You knock away either the Kindred or everyone else. Now, Burning Core will need to round off their composition. Sejuani for the top lane tank engage, something that they direly need still, and looking for an AP control mage, probably, knowing dice, or maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, so you could go down that route. I'm actually not a big fan of Victor here. And there's good reason why. And the main reason is the fact that you have a lot of options now as red side to round out your composition, which can mean that Victor doesn't get priority, which then means that Kindred doesn't get priority. And this is one of those potential options. You can go towards this Twisted Fate, lock in something like the minion dematerializer, and then you have perma prio before Victor can do much. Instead, though, that Ahri matchup is something we've seen, so it's a very strong winning Rascal Jester 2v2 in that early stage. And now, you see, whilst they have got that Kindred pickup that I enjoy, they haven't drafted the right things around it to make it succeed. So it will really be on Flawless to show up as one of those big players of it, to find success essentially alone, which I'm a bit worried about. But they have insane late stage potential.
That is true. I will just touch on that. What about top lane? Because I'm looking at a Sejuani Gangplank, of course, historically a champion that suffers a lot under his own tower. Is there a potential angle to try and punish Aino and Flawless gets ahead that way, or no?
So I think it's really tough. Oh, those are some lovely looking men there. Oh no, there's one lovely looking man and me. That's unfortunate. But yeah, I feel like it's a difficult one because the theory goes something like this. Obviously, I haven't played this matchup too much myself. But the idea is that Sejuani wants to play with her W trading. And if you were going to make this gank successful, you are relying a little bit on Permafrost as your main tool. You're also relying on Sejuani to chunk out the gangplank, which is hard to do. Because even though he's ranged, mainly, he is technically pseudo-ranged because of Q farm and Q harass. He can play very well around this. Gangplank can also look to do things like take orange at level 2, which is rare, but is an option if you are worried about that dive. And then suddenly that extra bit of HP, that ability to immune the CC, it creates a high likelihood of trade killing, if not a 2v1 outplay for the Gangplank under his own turret if you do go for level 3 dive. And if you go later than that, then you start to have other issues come into play, things like his ulti coming through the cannon barrage, things like him starting to stack up more damage from things like Sheen off of his first buy. So the angle is possible. It's very hard, I think, to find unless Sejuani can find good W harassment and poke beforehand, which is something that I think the GP shouldn't be allowing to happen anyway. So whether that does happen or not, I think is more of a skill differential there from Ray Farkey if it's able to come through.
All right, we're gonna find out as we go to the Rift. And one more thing to point out, as we're just waiting in the early game, is that I like Rascal Jester's comp more as a continuous kind of plan, because you've got that strong mid jungle, Hachimecha recap. If you can kill dice, great. If not, then you said there are problems if you try to camp Aino. I feel like one of those is recap potentially making his way up to the top lane to swing the balance of that fight. It is an area at the end of the day. We are expecting to see that pick all over the map. And so Rascal Jester, they've got the scaling, they've got the early game. I kind of like their flow more.
I agree with you. I think that the segue between the early, mid, and late game is a lot more consistent from Rascal Jester. And it is sort of a drafting issue that I think that a lot of teams have, both in professional and in amateurs. And it's the fact that a lot of teams will draft too much with the idea of going into a specific direction. And that's like, say you drafted Karmazillion. You're like, okay, we have movement speed going. Oh, that was nice. That was the auto Q there from Secret. But they'll go so much into move speed, you don't then need another move speed based champ. You don't need Sivir on top of that. You're already stacked up. And this is kind of like that with late game scaling. You've got Kindred, Zeri, and Victor. You don't need that much. It's just a little bit too much. And perhaps we might see some issues because of it. But Flawless now might be going for something spicy here. It's going to be the bottom side red buff into top lane gank. They're looking for it, but there's almost CC. Ray Farkey is hitting 2 very, very soon, though, like one more creep.
I mean, this is top tier quality cheese if this works. Ray Farkey's still level 1. He can't quite hit the level 2. One more minion should die. There we go. Flawless goes for the gank. He's got this slow with the red buff. Ignite is down. Aino goes under the turret. Can he survive? One more auto. And first blood picked up by Flawless.
It's so well played. I mean, we're talking about, are they going to gank tops? I'm like, yeah, they can maybe try and dive it at level 3. Nah, that's not me. We're going to let Gangplank push up, and we're going to do red buff into a bot side, into a top lane gank, which is ridiculous. It does mean now, though, that Flawless, there isn't any punish coming through on the flip side, so you can do your top side camps clear to the bottom side, but forget about that. Let's just look at this from Flawless, and it's so much commitment from this Kindred. The whole time this is happening, by the way, Xin Zhao's on his 3rd camp, so you are falling behind. If this doesn't work out, you feel horrible as the Kindred. You fall so far behind, but it's a nice initial play. I like the fact they wait for level 2. They get a plenty of damage. The Ignite dropped early, and look at Ray Farkey. Goes in, dashes to tank the turret so that Flawless can get that last little bit of damage, because if you look at the damage that was dealt, you do one more tank as the Kindred, you probably go down. So great stuff there from the top side, and really the shining light of Burning Core coming to fruition once again.
Yeah, well, that is one way to flip the game early on, but it works out for Flawless.
CGA got nothing on us.
True. I mean, I'm sorry. How many times do you load into the game of Summoner's Rift? You know the enemy jungler starting on the bot side red, and you're like, yeah, they're gonna gank top lane after this one camp.
You have not played enough solo queue, my friend.
I mean, bro, I've been playing this game since 2015. I have never seen this in solo queue.
I love that. That's fantastic. That is like the absolute Chad Kindred jungler versus the farming Xin Zhao. So the crazy thing is that it does result in getting double crabbed, which obviously sucks for Kindred because you are losing out on marks. But if you're getting that mark on the top side anyway, you feel pretty great about that. I don't know if Flawless did actually mark Aino or not, because honestly, I would have just not marked the GP because it kind of gives it away a little bit with your intent. But we'll see if that one did end up getting cashed in on. And it actually means that once you do fall behind a little bit in terms of the gold, the CS department, you're actually up the gold department because of the 400 from that first blood. So now Flawless can have a great time farming towards the top and just top down clearing on repeat. Problem is, though, is that look at this bot wave. It's now Rascal Jester just freezing it. They have Secret on the Nautilus, can walk up for that auto attack, and while Zeri can get the shield, a bit of movement speed in exchange, you're now in a really awkward spot where you can't do a lot as this Zeri Yuumi lane, because if Nautilus walks up to you, you are just terrified. You are permanently on ice from getting any sort of farm. So great wave control here from Rascal Jester.
Yeah, you can see Flawless pathing ball lane straight off the vehicle despite no camps being there. He is forced to do something to relieve the pressure, but there's a ward in the middle bush, which means that Flawless is likely to be spotted well, to be precise, right now, as he plays down the control ward.
It's just a pressure relief gank. You want to just push in that wave as best you can, which ironically they don't do. And then you either transition that time into the Dragon with your Victor coming back on stronger components than the Ahri, or you just leave your bot lane in a horrible state and they're just forced to deal with it, which is the latter of what we're saying. Meanwhile, on the top side, though, you know your Kindred showed bot side, which means you know the Xin is coming.
Oh yeah, Ray Farkey's running the Ignite. No flash to get away. That is one dead Sejuani, you have to believe. Ray Farkey still sustaining through, and that's Hachimecha getting away with the kill. The response is going to be the Dragon, so a kill for Drake, roughly even at this time in the game.
It's a little bit greedy, though, there from the side of Ray Farkey. You have to be respectful. The strong side, weak side dynamic there is fully known by all 10 players in the game, or rather, I guess 9 except for top. The wave's just in a little bit of an awkward spot, which means that it's slow pushing away. You agreed to try and fix it, and unfortunately, Xin Zhao is there, because if you go for this as Flawless in the bot side, you are giving perfect information to the opposition, and it seems like it just transitions a bit too well. Just finishes the Krugs. Hachimecha goes, yep, alright, top side looks good. Let's get a little bit of barrel action there. I know now walking up, the vision is unfortunately denied there, and it's just a little bit too easy. There's no real counterplay. There's an attempt, maybe, to do something, but look, the orange comes through, so you're not going to be able to get the proc on the Frostbite into the ulti on the Glacial Prism proc as well. Maybe that kills. Unfortunately, it's going to get tanked.
Yeah, it's heavy trading. In the bot lane, Yuki is playing a Zeri, though, so just hops over the wall, doesn't care for anything else at all. And yeah, look, taking a look at the macro state of the game, we have a CS advantage in the top lane. Of course, Hachimecha being ahead in the jungle in terms of farm still. Flawless suffering kind of the consequences of the early game, but I assume that is going to be even. Now, do we want to see more from this Kindred to recollect? Because you're the Kindred kind of, I don't want to say expert, but definitely the proponent
Psychopath?
in LJL. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. But what do we want to see from this pick here?
In this game or in general? Because I love Kindred.
In this pick.
In this game.
In this game.
I feel like in general there's not a lot that you can do here pre-6 as the Kindred. It's more now about farming yourself back to a reasonable state. Maybe you can go topside once Rayfaki has the Glacial Prism available again. But either playing to get yourself that Herald and snowball the game from there is always a viable opportunity, especially, as I say, with that mid lane item difference, Recap really struggling for mana, and as such it's going to have to be donated this blue buff to help sort of sustain up from that one, as Dice will probably receive the same treatment, so it's fine. But in actual damage combat-wise, I feel like Burning Core might be slightly ahead with what they have. Obviously, GP Sheen is a big spike, so that might be a big factor I'm not properly calculating. But I think they agree, because they go immediately for this one, but look at Secret. Has roamed up, the Yuumi has not yet, so unless Yuhi is willing to come to, it is a 4 versus 3 fight, and perhaps Burning Core are a little bit, afraid now, a little bit apprehensive, but they go straight back to it, they'll get themselves that one uncontested, and maybe this was an opportunity wasted for Rascal Jester, you might feel.
They do get Soul to solo farm a wave in the bot lane, so they get something in return, and damage on the tower, I guess. But yeah, it will be the Herald. Nothing really to compare to that in terms of the response. And Rascal Jester, so far, it is looking kind of similar in the first 9 minutes to the first round robin game, which was where Rascal Jester just tried to scale and never really did much. Of course, it's too early to make any overarching judgment, but that is something I do want to keep in the back of our minds as the game goes on.
Yeah, and while we do talk about them not doing much, the Ahri is meant to be proactive and has come down. Ulti being popped.
Yeah, well, that's one hell of a caster curse. Rascal Jester goes straight onto the ball lane, and Yuki is dead. Soul on a sliver of health from the turret. There is the Glacial Prison. Hits straight onto Recap, and the chase continues. Rayfaki drops down the Ignite. He is going to get hooked, and is now dropping incredibly low. Does manage to get a kill. Soul will block the whip, and... well, loser, I don't believe he's able to do a whole lot. Although Flawless is on his way. Oh, the Lapse Respite will save the Yuumi. Oh, that was so well played by Flawless, and now he is the one trying to pick off Secret, maybe. But no, we'll give it up as Hachimecha shows his face in the bot side with her.
Yeah, had to invest the flash and the ulti there from Flawless, but does keep Loser alive, so it's not as hard losing initially, but you just can't be here as the Zeri and the Yuumi. You understand that Ahri's going to be here. The depth charge is too much, the CC chain is too easy, and whilst you do get the cannon barrage to also make it a little bit harder, there's so many tools invested from Rascal Jester that they really can't afford to lose that one, and now Recap does get caught up and gets tagged there by the W at the very end, and unfortunately, that's going to be plenty of DPS thanks to the Ignite. Tick, tick, boom, good night. Rayfaki will go down, though. If that was old Sivir, that might have killed, but the heal comes through from the E, and that means that now that spell shield will help out, and look at that. Barely catches into range. Loser almost goes down to the Q afterwards. The Boomerang Blade not going to quite be doing enough, though, so Rascal Jester, they get themselves 2 off the play, but at the very least, it's only the 2.
Yeah. But I think both those kills went to Soul. If I'm looking down at the scoreboard, and I'm seeing a Kraken Slayer sitting in the Sivir's inventory. So all of that gold goes on to Soul. We mentioned in the pregame we kind of want to see the comeback of Soul and Secret. And talking about that, Summoner is blown every which way in the bot lane. All right, fair enough. It's going to be exhausted for the cleanse, and now Secret on a flank. We'll be looking for the hook. It goes wide. Final chapter is going to be Soul is so incredibly low. That is the kill. Picked up by Yuki, and now Secret. Okay, he's walking away. Never mind.
Yeah, no dash available there for Yuhi, I don't believe, but it's just one of those where as soon as you see this play, there's a bit of a problem. It's the fact that Nautilus is so far away, you just collapse on one, and it's pretty easy winning there for Burning Core. It's a 2v1 they create initially, and then they just recreate it immediately afterwards. As Recap is looking at them, my chum.
Yeah, that's going to come to Flawless. There's the depth charge as well. Kindred in so much trouble. No ult available. That's going to be Secret picking up the kill. And the Herald does get the charge. It's some plates for a kill.
Yeah, not exactly worthwhile, though, considering 300 gold for a kill, 320 there for the plates. And obviously, it does also mean that Xin Zhao is going to be able to potentially take away, or at least farm camps of their own, which gives them more timing. Rayfaki, they're going to make sure that Crab doesn't at least get given over, so there is that benefit there for the Sejuani, but it's just a little bit greedy there from both of these guys, actually. As Sol gets caught up, does get caught by the lightning crash, so the shielding, or the damage going to come through there from Yuhi as well as a little bit more of that movement speed, and is trying to wait it out, which is fine. But as soon as Secret is seen here, it's like, okay, Hook goes wide, now we're just killing your AD carry, goodbye. There's not much that can be done there. Unfortunately for the side of Sol, you just get deleted, and there's your counterplay gone.
That's it. Flawless now, pathing towards the bot side. He is level 7 on the Kindred. Definitely not the powerhouse that you would love to see from this kind of pick. I also want to know how many stacks it's at, but I don't know if the observers will give us that privilege.
We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait on that one. And it is a bit of a byproduct of the way that the game's gone, right? You've seen so much more farming come through here for Hachimecha. Has been able to really succeed in that regard. Was able to thrive off of the early play that obviously did get first blood, so it went off for flawless, but you lose time for yourself. There is a bit of a sacrifice made there. And with Hachimecha then getting a kill on the top side as well as some another assist later on, it feels like this Xin Zhao has been able to do a lot more around the map. And it's part of the problem, I think, with when we do see these pickups come with very little pressure to help, make this this pick pop off. You have to draft around it, and unfortunately, it means that you're sacrificing a lot of this early game where you have this Ahri Xin Zhao spiking very hard. They've got these one items. It's where their champs are at their best, and they're going to utilize that now to segue into this dragon. So, going to deny the whole soul win condition of we got all 4 get bodied, but Burning Core at the very least they managed to get 1 in this early stage.
Yeah, it's going to be Ocean, so definitely one that when we are looking at both these comps late game, a lot of consistent damage, I feel like it's a pretty good soul for both of these team compositions to be fighting over, as Flawless will be going. He's getting 1 more stack here. It's in exchange for the tower. It's also the first tower of the game, so the Rascal Jester is still overall with the advantage.
Absolutely,
and that's only
absolutely.
the second stack.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a rough one. Oh!
There we go, second time's the charm.
Guys, just want to double check. No one saw anything, right? Nothing happened?
Yeah, no?
I think my monitor
nothing.
turned off for there for a second. I was worried that I might have witnessed something that I don't think I did, so it's fine. As Flawless showing those Kindred one-trick mechanics in full display. But yeah, it definitely feels like Rascal Jester right now, they are spiking hard and they're ahead in the gold. They're feeling really comfortable. They're going to segue their bot lane to the mid lane. Problem is that whilst Victor isn't strong early, he has got himself the Ludens, has got himself at least that first upgrade for the Hex Core, so is now at that point where you can't actually wave clear against him and get an advantage from it. Man's just going to absolutely push the waves permanently, and with all members coming here outside of Burning Core, you have to feel like a fight might be inevitable.
The Herald has been triggered, Burning Core turning towards it. Everyone's here, absolutely all members. Only the Cannon Barrage unavailable when you look at the ultimate. So this has all the signs of an explosive fight. Dice on the flank, Rayfark, you looking for an ultimate on the side. Herald down to 4,000, Iron on the front line, starting to lay down the barrels. The first one is going to be neutralized by Burning Core. Dice ball coming in from the side. There's the Glacial Prison. Recap is going to be dashing back immediately. Herald has been reset. Ultimates are burned by Burning Core for no real gain. And you look at the damage, Burning Core, I don't think they're that much better off. They're gonna go back to this Herald, but Rascal Jester now undeterred moving forward. Recap flashes, he finds the charm onto Flawless, and that Kindred is dead. The Herald is now going to be the focus for Rascal Jester. They do get it. Chaos Storm thrown down. Hachimecha in the front, and Recap is there as well. Rayfark is going to be the target. Exhaust thrown down every which way. There is the hook. However, Yuki just goes over the wall. This fight, just Burning Core refused to die, but the second kill comes through inevitably. Dice trying to kite it away. The charm goes wide. Bro, just give it up. Dice, just walk away. You don't have to fight here anymore.
And you don't have to fight here anymore. It's exactly what Burning Core should have elected to do. As soon as you see the fact that you've blown 3 ultis, got nothing for it, the fight is going to be hard, but they stay along. They try to do more, and they just get punished. It's easy for Rascal Jester, and once Flawless gets caught out by the charm, the ulti can't come through. There's no Lamb's Respite, which was their final ace in the hole. The mispositioning, the mistakes from Burning Core, it's just too much. I kind of don't understand why Dice is off on the side here. I feel like Victor, as soon as you show, you're just going to get hooked on anyway, so you can't actually do anything in this positioning. So it's kind of a pseudo 4v5 here, and as soon as we see this sort of attempt come through, is you don't want to find it onto the Ahri, because you've still got so much ability to dash away. It's the one target you can't find, but they pull so much on it, and a nice barrel comes through there from Ano in the top side, and now it's very hard to pilot. Look at the charm. It catches the Gale Force, and there was a moment there, just a second, where Flawless maybe could have cast that Lamb's Respite, but gets CC'd immediately afterwards and goes down. And with this down, there's no ultis available here for Burning Core. Everything is used. They're trying to find damage that just isn't there anymore. And Rascal Jester, they'll clean it up. They'll get Rayfaki, and the fight is immediately done from there. Nice play from Rascal Jester.
Yeah, they will get themselves the fight, and the gold lead is theirs at 3,000. Worth pointing out is at the tail end of that fight, we have seen how slippery Burning Core is, and we get to see it right now with Yuki evading everyone. I say that as Hachamecha is going to be boosted up with that severe ultimate. Yuki dropping down the lightning crash. There is the cannon barrage as well, and throw everything in the kitchen sink at these bot laners. Burning Core are just dead.
It's just 3 ultis. They're only blowing 3 ultis to kill 2, but meanwhile on the top side, Lamb's Respite is up.
No wave though to dive on this one, and that is a 4 versus 2. Burning Core, textbook definition of an overextension. Dice will go down. Flawless, I don't think he has too much of a chance to survive either. Does burn the flash, has got access to Lamb's Respite. Still is going to use it.
Yeah, but it's a big cooldown to be invested in. Burning Core, it feels like now the desperation is starting to set in. The mistakes have come through, and I don't fully understand the idea of going for that top dive as soon as you see 2 members fall down just in your own top side. You know the members of Rascal Jester are nearby, and you know they're coming for you. Unfortunately, though, Burning Core, they don't bail out, and that's been the subject of this game, is that they're not willing to give an inch, and sometimes you just have to, but they haven't been willing to, and they've got punished for it multiple times.
And Rascal Jester will turn towards this Drake right now. I mean, the last few minutes have looked, how do I say it, disastrous for Burning Core. Almost every single fight that they took kind of just went not their way. We'll see the replay of this one. I mean, part of me feels like if Rascal Jester are committing this much, like surely Burning Core need to find something else elsewhere, right?
Sure, but the problem is that where can you go? Look at how many members are there. Who are you going to pick? It's only the GP. So they feel like they have to go for this one. And you know what? Maybe it can work out. I know doesn't need to be that afraid. He's able to sort of stand on this turret, stand strong. And with that ability to just survive it out, it's just too much. Now Burning Core, they've got to run, head for the hills, but there's nowhere left for them to go. It's just be easy pickups. And unfortunately, whilst Flawless is able to get out, it's still 3 kills that are essentially unanswered there.
Yeah, and Drake on top of that, slowly getting towards that Ocean Soul. And we haven't talked about the items too much recently, but 2.5 on Soul compared to 1.5 on Yuki. And mid lane, we have a similar kind of disparity with 2 finished items sitting in Recap's inventory.
Yeah, Recap very much the gainer, should we say. They're able to get a lot of money out of these kills and assists. Currently a difference about 8 KP there between the 2 mid laners. And that's kind of been the story of this, is that Recap can do so much more in terms of the rotational elements in those early stages. And the Victor, not yet online, needs sort of 2.5, maybe 3 items before really starts to feel like they're dishing enough damage to warrant, you know, scaling into that one. But it is worth noting that Burning Core do have good scaling elements. As long as Flawless isn't the one getting caught out, you are able to play these fights very efficiently, shall we say, in a more front-to-back manner. There isn't a great front line to do so, aside from Rayfaki, who obviously has also fallen behind a little bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if they want to try and fight this next dragon out. Maybe once Flawless gets to sort of 2 items, gets that Last Whisper upgraded, fully as Secret finds one.
That's going to be hooked onto Dice. Cannon Barrage goes down, but Secret is dead. Flawless also feeling pretty good. I know will teleport into the fight. Flawless called out by the Everfrost and the Charm, but Burning Core take the pick onto Rascal Jester's support. Force the teleport out. I know. It's a win.
Yeah, it's something. And for Burning Core, you've got to feel happy about that one. At the very least, they are able to give themselves 1 kill, which would delay some of this timer for the side of Rascal Jester to really do anything. They're not going to be able to go to the Baron now, which I imagine is what Rascal Jester were looking for. They find a pick, they maybe segue that, and then they can get themselves Dragon 2. So it would have been really great for them if they were able to do so, but a nice turnaround. And unfortunately, Secret was just a bit further ahead than the rest of the team, so there was no real follow-up.
However, that one pick doesn't fundamentally shake out the status quo. We still have Rascal Jester firmly in the lead. And kind of my question is, as you know, we're moving into the mid-game, What's the forecast? Burning Core, are they playing on a timer? I mean, they got overloaded scaling, but when Rascal Jester are ahead, is it a case of waiting for full items, or maybe is there a spike earlier on that they can play around?
There's definitely a spike earlier on. I think that around 3 items is where Burning Core starts to sort of outscale Rascal Jester in a general term. Obviously, there are still factors in which Rascal Jester just win, such as GP just lands a barrel and crits everyone for their entire health bar. That is something that is very much always going to be a factor. But I feel like you reach a point where Sejuani GP, it is more GP favored, but Sejuani can be that bulky frontline, and Rascal Jester's ability to tank shred isn't amazing. It's much more reliant on this Sivir. It's all on Sol, because Recap isn't bringing much. This Ahri is as strong as she's going to get. Even if you get more items, you aren't going to do as much in a team fight as a Victor will do. And when you combine that with the fact that Flawless can maybe start to deny those picks, it becomes quite hard, shall we say, to find them in a team fighting scenario. Question for me is more whether or not Burning Core are allowed to get there, because if this dragon ends up going over, and it goes over in a way where Burning Core ends up dying fighting it, I think that the Baron just goes down, and Rascal Jester gets themselves about a 5k injection off of the Baron itself, and then the game becomes very, very hard. Don't get me wrong, they do scale, but with a 6k advantage, one more slip, and the game really starts to fall away.
Yeah, it's the kind of goldie that it's very difficult to start coming back from, especially if we look at Flawless. 1.5 items, not been looking that great on the pick, will need a lot more time to scale in. Both Dice and Yuki, I believe they have hit their second items very recently. And then we look at an Infinity Edge and Soul's inventory. It is still very Rascal Jester favored, as bit of a contest over the red buff. Hatchet definitely eyeing it up, smited away by Flawless, and Pog being thrown out. You can see the dice starting to hit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hitting pretty hard. It's got 2 items, but yeah, that's what we're saying. GP can crit, and that was the classic sort of 30 to 40% crit chance. Hitting different as Sol gets engaged on by very Farky, but not too much. However, On the Hunt was popped there, so Sivir not going to have that ult available for this team fight. With Recap in the side lane, he needs to TP very, very soon. Rascal Jester might be a bit of an awkward one.
They are in the 4 versus 5. This dragon is up. Recap pushing the wave in. Oh no, he's teleporting. The flank is potentially big, but Burning Core spotted out. They will be pathing towards the bot side. Try and regroup. Get yourself in a position where that Ahri isn't much of a threat, and successfully so, thanks to that control word. Secret is over the wall. He's got the flash. He's got the ult, and he sees everyone on Burning Core. There he goes in. Finds the knockouts, but Lightning Crash is going to be coming through. Ray Farky on the front side. He's buying so much time, but for who and for what? Because Burning Core are just dying one after another. That's the second kill, and Dice is too low to step forward. Rascal Jester, they will take the 2 kills. They're looking for the dragon right now. Yuki still has got the eagerness to fight, but you have to believe this one is over.
And again, Flawless dies with Lambros by up. Again, gets caught by Recap in a charm. And again, it ends up with Burning Core getting deleted in the fight. You need to be playing as the backliner here, but no one is tanking anything. And unfortunately, it means that these picks are just too much. You know that the Ahri is coming. It's spotted on this pick, but look, there's never a ward in the tri-bush, which means that no one can see it coming when it does eventually arrive. Recap uses a vision trick there to make it look like you're going top, you're actually going round. And now Secret, even though they're spotted, will look for the engage, lands a multi-man knock-up, and with the GP ulti over the top, there's plenty of damage. Great usage of the Xin Zhao ulti to push people away. The Crescent Guard doing a fantastic job, and now look at Recap. The kill went down to Ray Farky, but Charm Flawless goes down, the Kindred does, and unfortunately, it's going to mean 2 quick kills, and the Dragon secured along with, I imagine, the Baron very shortly.
Yeah, it's not looking great. If you're a Burning Core fan, I'm just gonna spell it out right now. The team fights have not been found. Flawless's Kindred hasn't impressed me. I'm just gonna put it out there. Not the one. This game.
Yeah, it's looked pretty rough. I won't lie about that. It's definitely been problematic. The Lamb's Respite usage has been non-existent in the right timings, and unfortunately, that's why you pick the champion. A lot of it is A, you scale well, and B, your ult denies engages, and unfortunately, if you're not utilizing either of those factors, the champion doesn't bring a whole lot else. So Burning Core unfortunately not able to utilize it to its full potential, and I feel like potentially might be having the game taken away from them. Having said that, IE will be online very soon for you. He will start to hit pretty hard when that comes through. Even though I say that, though, Sol is hitting that 4-item mark where Sivir is known historically to be an absolute monster.
Ooh, bit of a death brush. Secret walking forward, fishing for the hook, finds a minion instead. Is going to take half his health in punishment. Rascal Jester, I mean, if you're going for a death brush, generally what that tells me is you control that side of the map. Like, there isn't that much the other team. Well, it's either that or desperation, and it's not desperation.
Yeah, they've got complete vision control. I mean, if you can take a quick look on the minimap, they had everything warded, everything is covered, everything is theirs to control, and they might be looking for more here. Rayfaki in charm range.
He's going to get charmed indeed. Sejuani pretty tanky, but actually getting shredded down fairly effectively. Down to half health. Rascal Jester will get the control of the wave. It's been a trade. Vision control for wave priority. But Burning Core will lose that now, and it's the standard Baron dance.
Yeah. The only issue is that it now means that I was able to push in that bottom side wave as well, and with Rayfaki already chunked, you feel a little bit unsafe of walking up against a GP. So that's to sacrifice a few CS, and that now means that with that timing, they have the 4v5 on the map, which likely means this Baron gets started up very soon. If that happens, you might end up being able to force this Sejuani's teleport. That's what this is all about, and in fact, they are going to do that. They see Rayfaki on that bot wave, they know it's a 4v5, they're starting up the Baron, they want to get the teleport from the Sejuani, but look, Rayfaki is walking, doesn't want to blow it. 6k, the Baron is going very, very quickly, very low.
I think this has gone teleport way too late. The cannon barrage will slow the entirety of Burning Core. Flawless on the front side. He's getting quick. He is going to pop that Lamp's Respite. Inno in the front will flash out of the harm's way. And Yugi's trying to Kai, but the rest of Burning Core are just falling down. Yugi now created by the barrel. That is going to be the hook. That is going to be Ace, the Baron, and Rascal Jester. The game's theirs.
Absolutely. You have to feel like the game, it might not end right now, but Rascal Jester are in complete control. They're ulting to push the minion wave faster. Maybe they think they can end it. Maybe they think that the timers are long enough. The misplays from Burning Core were a little bit too much in this one, and I feel like maybe it's all going wrong for them. Rascal Jester wanting to secure that fourth spot for themselves.
Yeah, they want to get this sole possession of the fourth spot, put the head-to-head at 1-1, and keep the hopes of the late-game season scaling alive as they will take the win over Burning Core.
Yeah, they're able to pick that one up. Great stuff there from the side of Rascal Jester. They found the angles they needed to. Some fantastic charms from Recap, really securing a lot of those team fights, and a standout performance, in fact, something that I wasn't expecting to come through from the mid lane.
Yeah, the combo with the Ari together with Hatchamech on the Xin just being there, as well as the Nautilus, it all worked, right? This is how you set up your engage, how you set up your ground control. You've got lanes to go to, and it all just clicked to Rascal Jester. They now will tie up the head-to-head 1-1 with Burning Core. Sole possession of the fourth place as of right now. And is this the start of the late season Rascal Jester?
I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible, right? They found themselves a couple of winning fights and a couple of winning matches now in a row. They're starting to string together some results, and they are spiking at the right time if they do want to make a comeback. Whether they can contest for the top two spots, I think they've left it too late already. I think that when two teams are 11-1 at this point, it's not happening. Can they come up to maybe third place? I can definitely see a world where the Hawks start to make some mistakes and lose some games, so it's possible.
We'll see, but we're gonna go to the break, then bring on Infinite Dodge to break down this game and talk more about what this victory means for the Rascal Jester.
Here we are after game number 2 on the day. It was Rascal Jester showing a bit of the old flair, a bit of the old flame burning a little bit hotter than Burning Core here, coming out on top. Despite, recollect, that Kindred pick that we really wanted to see somebody grab up, as we do get a look at the draft here. Burning Core picking that on B3. Didn't look as good as we had hoped.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun. I think the champion is fantastic if one, you have good pushing lanes, and two, you don't get hit by every single charm before you press R.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, neither of those two things were things that Burning Core had, so it ended up not working out the way that I was expecting it to do so. And I think there was a statistic that the second it was 2 marks until about 23:30, or at least until a lot later than that as well. So it was a rough one here for Flawless. I think that the champion itself is fine, but the way it was played around and utilized, shall we say, was not to the expectation I think I had going into the game.
Absolutely
for sure.
not. I mean, kind of the thing that happened is Flawless. He started bot side on the red buff, went top lane after the 1 buff, got first blood, didn't make any more plays, got charmed, died, refuses to elaborate further, and then just left. I mean, we're in the presence of a Sigma male here.
Oh, absolutely. It was inscrutable behavior here from Flawless, who was quite flawed in picking up that first blood and then, unfortunately, not being able to grow that lead to the opposite of the namesake. But one AD carry who did show up big time was the Sivir on the side of Rascal Jester. This was our first Sivir game of not just the summer, I believe, of 2022 here in the LJL, and it looked absolutely outstanding. We are on 12.13 now. Mini rework is live. The scaling's a lot better. And Kashka, that pick was just nasty in those team fights.
Oh yeah, you just shred the entire front line as the Sivir, especially that Soul was allowed to farm up fairly unscathed. I think the only death that game, I don't recall another one, was the bot lane 2v2, which kind of turned into a 2v1, which was a misplay. Then hit the 3.5 to 4 items, absolutely destroyed everyone, and yeah, it was just allowed to sit back and free hit, which is what Sivir wants to do.
Yeah, and allowed to free hit it was. That Sivir really thriving in the extended fights. If we can actually take a look at the first clip from that game, it wound up being a very extended fight with some unfortunate stuff not quite breaking the way of Burning Core around that Herald where it did actually reset. And we saw the Zeri matched up against the Sivir here in this game, and they both do very similar things, right? They're both trying to get AoE, big crit scaling damage out, not the right clip here. This is Secret with a bit of a hilly hook. I thought this was funny. I mean, we can play this one. I don't care, production. It's fine. We'll come back to it. But yeah, you know, we saw these 280 carries here, recollect, with very similar ideas about what they wanted to do in the game. And ultimately, it was the Sivir that triumphed in those extended fights. You think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this pick moving forward here?
So Siva is a champion that, if given the opportunity to do nothing, is fantastic. And it's one of those where you're always going to have a solid late game, but she has some very, uh, she's always had issues in the laning phase against certain matchups, and I think that some of those matchups are still pretty good. As we see here, the damage is definitely being dealt out. The problem is that so many cooldowns were blown from Burning Core. I just want to say, at this point, you need to run. There is no way you're winning this fight, even if Kindred lands the most god tier Lamb's Respite, you're still going to end up going down afterwards. Unfortunately, that doesn't even come out. That's just a one shot. And it's a little bit too easy here for the side of Rascal Jester. But you can't play this because you just don't have the cooldowns. There's so much available to play out the rest of it. And unfortunately, it's a bit of a sunken course fallacy, you know?
Yeah, to go back in on the 4v5 after the Herald was already taken, certainly a head scratcher there from the side of Burning Core. But I think you sum it up best there, Recollect. The sunken cost fallacy, they were already in on the play, so they felt like they had to get something. And Kashka, that's sort of in contrast, I believe, to that first dragon fight we saw in the V3 game, right? Where we commented it's so rare for these LJL teams to show up to an objective fight, get the objective, and just get out. And not doing that here is Burning Core. Getting the foot a little too hard on the gas on that one.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, V3 had better discipline than Burning Core in the early game. I mean, that's a
Perhaps
statement
too
and a
much
half.
so.
I feel like it kind of adds up. Burning Core, they have been going for the fights where they shouldn't have. They, especially the extension in the top lane. There was another moment where we had Yuki getting called out. Everyone else just kind of tried to get something back, and it didn't work. So yeah, you know what? I think I agree with that. It's Burning Core getting a whole lot of fights that they shouldn't be getting.
Yeah, as we do get a little repeat here on one of the few bright spots for Burning Core outside of the early game. I just thought it was very interesting here, Recollect, how he can just Spider-Man to the opposite wall towards his team, and Secret's just like, nah, I gotta send it a little bit here.
It was a little bit of a overcommittal, shall we say. I think that was it was a lack of understanding of his team's position relative to his own. That's what we call it. That's the diplomatic way of saying that he absolutely ran it down. But it was a little bit of a tough one there for the side of Secret, but was able to find a few other good engages at the very least to make up for that one.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think it just does speak to the fact that Rascal Jester is still shaking off that rust, right? They're not making all the plays that we expected from them in spring when they were one of our top teams, but, you know, they're in sole possession of fourth now at the end of this game, so they have come back from a very rough start, and the standings are really starting to solidify as we get a look here, Kashka, at the game-winning fight.
Yeah, this is the kind of control that you would expect from a team in the fourth place like Rascal Jester, especially that they're this far ahead. It's just clean. You get the Baron, and yeah, you could definitely put the blame on Burning Core. They should have pulled the trigger earlier. But you know what? We can also take the nice angle and just compliment the Rascal Jester because, yeah, once they got rolling, they played their draft exactly how they should, and I'm not yet on the hype train. But I'm just saying that tickets are starting to sell soon.
Very good, very good. I'm not sure if I'm aboard that train either, but maybe it's in the station. I hear the engine starting to spin up, and it'll be choo-chooing real soon. But gentlemen, that is it for the first half of games here. I want to thank you so much for your wonderful casting and breakdowns of everything that went on. But we are going to throw it to a quick break while we do get ready for Game 3 here, which will be Axis versus Detonation Focus Me. We'll have all the breakdowns for you on that on the other side of a short break. Be right back.